Welcome to JWL Sports, where we review all the best sports clips from around the world. Now you're probably wondering, why should I watch over here instead of anywhere else? And that's because over there, they don't care about what you have to say. They say this all the time, they talk down to us. They think we're just a bunch of clowns on YouTube, Twitter. But I think it's the opposite. I think we know exactly what we're talking about. So I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. So without further ado, let's get to it. We're watching a clip of First Take, talking about Luka and Kyrie, and Kawhi and George. You know, who's gonna make the most noise in the playoffs? Because they both are seemingly playing pretty well, kind of getting things together, and it's kind of like which is, you know, the leading duo, because it seems like this season more than ever it's a lot of duos, right? It's these 1-2 punches here and not so much of the big threes or super teams, so to speak. So let's take a listen to see what Skip and Stephen A have to say, and we'll break it down from there.
The Clippers over the Cavs, 120-118. George scored 23 of his 39 points in the final quarter to help LA overcome a 26-point deficit, the third largest comeback win in franchise history. Meanwhile, exciting OT action in Dallas as Kyrie and Luka combined for 85 points in the 147-136 win over the Rockets. The Mavs rallied from 22 points down in a clutch buzzer beater by Dante Exum to force the game to OT. Shannon, Sharpe, which comeback more impressive, Mavs or Clippers?
Man, Kyrie and Luka was sensational. But I'm going to go with the Clippers, Stephen A., for the simple fact they didn't have Kawhi. And Paul George took it upon himself. And we've seen Paul George. This is Indiana Paul George that has this kind of capabilities. He can do it all. He can get to the rim. He can pull up. He can shoot the three. He was an excellent defensive player before those injuries robbed him of some of that athleticism. But the one thing he can continuously do is make shots. He can get his shot. He can create separation. Great move. Dropped it and got a 12-footer off that splashed it and ended up winning the game. So for me, considering what they were up against, they were undermanned by not having Kawhi. I would say Paul George and what the Clippers were able to do. But Kyrie and Luka were sensational.
Couple of things. Number one, Paul George, one of the best people you'll ever want to meet. It's beautiful seeing him on the court this late in the season, healthy, because we know that the Clippers are a different beast when that brother is on the court and he gets going. So give props where it's due. That's number one. Number two, however, I'm going to disagree with you because, as I said a few minutes earlier, Kyrie Irving is my comeback player of the year. When you consider the injuries, when you consider the suspensions, when you consider some of the noise that was made headline-wise when he was a Brooklyn Net and then coming to Dallas, and obviously people were wondering whether or not he was going to be a distraction or whatever. No, he's something spectacular. He's special. He's averaging nearly 26 a game. He's shooting 49% from the field, 41% from three-point range, 90% from the free throw line. He's the secondary option to Luka Doncic. And let me throw this by you, Shannon. 25 of his season-high 48 points in the fourth quarter in overtime. That was yesterday. In clutch time this season, you understand what I'm saying? Last 5 minutes, within 5 points, et cetera, et cetera. This is Kyrie Irving. 60% from the field, 42% from three-point range, 95% from the free throw line. This brother's something special, and he's putting on a show and reminding everybody of the superstar and the champion we knew him to.
Okay, but let's be serious here, okay? Because the Mavericks beat the Rockets. Not a good team. I understand they're trying to make a little bit of a run to get into the play-in. I don't think so. Okay? And the Cavaliers, who are also not that good, although they're a better team than the Rockets, of course. So it's clearly the Clippers to me, without a doubt. And this idea that the Mavericks are going to make some noise, Kyrie's going to make some noise come time playoffs, no. No, for so many reasons. But we don't even have to go through all of them. All we do is have to look no further than what has Kyrie done in the playoffs when LeBron James is not there? He's done nothing. Okay? His game also shrinks. He has his moments, but it also shrinks in the playoffs because it gets more physical. He's a smaller player. He's a weaker-minded player. And that's not even up for debate. That's not even an opinion, okay? The dude is soft mentally. without a doubt. He thinks he's stronger and tougher than he really is. And again, if he is, why does he have no championships or even finals appearances without LeBron James? Why did he do nothing with Cleveland until LeBron James? So that's the difference. When you look at Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, they actually have had success, obviously, especially Kawhi, winning multiple championships for multiple teams, and Paul George carrying the Pacers. Yes, he ran into the juggernaut of none other than the LeBron James. That's nothing to be sad about. That's nothing to, be too bummed about. He ran into the juggernaut of, of James and company. So this idea, to think that Paul George can just magically overcome that, come on, get out of here. Paul George didn't have no super team. The fact that he was even remotely competitive is a testament to Paul George's greatness. Now, as Shannon has said, unfortunately, now that, the league has maybe evened out a little bit more, Paul George is older and, he can't do what he was able to once do. But if we're talking come time playoffs, who do I have? Who do I think will show up? It is the Clippers. And it is Kawhi Leonard, who has proven to show up when he's not injured. And Paul George, who has proven to show up when he's also not injured. Unlike Luka, who has disappeared. And I love Luka. Luka's great, but Luka also, I think, gets too distracted. He's not focused enough in the playoffs, right? Like you're seeing tough games. I remember his last true competitive series was against the Warriors. And there's times when they're still in that game, but a ball doesn't go in or foul, and you see the immaturity. You see, maybe he's matured since then, but you see him carrying on with the refs and crying to them, and it's like, bro, it's a 6-point game. What are you doing? Get back on defense. Push the ball down. Like, what are you doing? Stay focused. Okay, they missed a call or whatever. Who cares? Get up and go. But he doesn't do that. He's the biggest crybaby, and so I don't trust him. I don't think he's matured enough in that regard. Everyone always likes to talk so highly about him when things are going well, but it's when Luka and the Mavs face adversity is when things go sour. Not unlike Kyrie. Kyrie goes back to the Garden and he's giving people the middle finger, and it's like, that's right. And Kyrie's tearing it up that game especially, and they end up losing because he's soft. You're at the crowd and you're giving people the middle finger in the playoffs. And you're not a little kid at this point. You're a seasoned veteran. You're a champion. An X-time all-star. You know better. I just don't trust those people. I don't ever trust those people in the playoffs. The emotional players typically don't fare too well come time playoffs and in the intense moments. It's the ice cold, the stoics that typically thrive. Not to say that there's no emotional players that don't thrive, so don't get that twisted. But a lot of the greats, right? LeBron James gets locked in. LeBron James doesn't really truly get emotional until he just won the championship, right? Then he's kind of celebrating. But other than that, he's focused. He's ready, right? He gets locked in. Steph Curry, ice and veins. KD, Clay, all of those guys. It's very, vacant. Their face is vacant. They're not giving middle fingers or screaming at the refs and stuff like that. And the time that happened to Steph before, they lost. It was uncharacteristic that he got emotional. He threw his mouth guard and all that type of stuff. That was uncharacteristic for him. And he paid the negative consequences for it. And it's why someone like a Draymond Green can be emotional, because you have the groundedness of Steph Curry. But obviously, Draymond Green, as important as he is, he's not on the level of, say, obviously a Steph Curry or LeBron James. So it's just one of those things where we love to do this in the NBA. And I talk about this all the time. They play a big game or come back or whatever, and we just want to then pretend like this is an indicator of what's to come. And it's just not true. One, just because of the way how basketball as a whole is played. And two, the vast difference of playoff basketball versus regular season. It's night and day. You watched a football game and you had no idea the time, right? These were recorded and you had no idea. and you couldn't hear them talk, right? Because obviously the commentators are going to spoil it. You could not tell the difference between a playoff game and a regular season game. Maybe if it's against obviously a terrible team and there's just no energy there. But if the Bills are playing the Chiefs regular season, the Eagles versus the Chiefs this past season, you would have no idea that that wasn't a playoff game. You would have no idea. Okay? The Clippers playing the Cavaliers or the Mavs playing the Rockets, you watch one quarter of that game and you go, oh, okay, this is a regular season game. You watch one quarter of playoff basketball and you know immediately, oh, this must be playoffs, right? I can see how intense they're all playing. It's just different. You can just see how the refs call it, everything about it. So I really rarely ever try to pull conclusions from the regular season about, obviously you have to some degree. You have to judge these teams and figure out who's who and what's what. But we know consistently, it's almost like easier to predict, in a lot of ways. Past playoff experiences with especially individual players that I don't think you see as commonly with other sports, specifically football, more than anything. So those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. Please let me know in the comments below. Who do you got come time in playoffs? Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, or Luka and Kyrie? Please don't forget to subscribe. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.